this week on Monday, I was invited to the House of Commons or to the Parliament to talk with some MPs. So here's me in the middle here. And it's a special LGBT event. It was mainly focused on international LGBT rights with a focus on UK and Turkey and their relationship between each other in fighting for LGBT rights, which sounds quite specific. I guess it kind of was. But we basically heard about what's going on in Turkey, talked about what's going on in the UK, asked some questions to politicians, and then, yeah, it was politics stuff. It was my first time going to something like this. Got a few photos. You can see this. There wasn't loads of people at this event. There was a few people. That's me. I don't know how I ended up at this seat right at the front there. So the people that I know who are here. So this is Marty who invited me. And then this was a German member of the European Parliament. This is a Turkish LGBT rights activist. This is Kate Osborne, who's an MP, and this is Nia Griffith, who's an MP, and who is involved in women's inequalities, so is a real relevant. I think Kate is a bit of a backbencher, but both of these two are Labour MPs, and they are both very overtly pro LGBT and specifically trans rights. I think both of them are LGBT themselves, and they put this event on and allowed us to come. So that was very positive. I know people are feeling very negative about the Labour Party at the moment. But yeah, I do look very serious. I guess I look serious in all of these ones. But yeah, the evening was kind of split into 3 parts, and I thought I'd just discuss vaguely what happened at all of them. So to start off with, we had some speeches from the guests, which were the German MEP, a couple of Turkish LGBT rights activists, and then the 2 Labour MPs. We got speeches from the speakers, and I thought all of the speeches were very good. I think that it was very interesting to hear from Turkish LGBT rights activists what they had gone through. I quite appreciated hearing from this guy, Barbaros Sansal, I think. He seems to be quite a high-profile activist in Turkey, and he has been arrested loads of times. They put him in solitary confinement for 56 days just for going through an airport in Turkey. And by the sounds of it, he gave an overview of the history of LGBT rights in Turkey, and it sounds like they were really bad, and then they were really good, and now they're bad again. And he kind of had this attitude of, yeah, it's really bad in Turkey, but it'll come around again. We'll get it back. We'll get there. And it was quite motivating and positive to hear that. The German MEP was cis and straight, and made a point about saying, he's an ally, and he thinks that it's very important that allies step up. And obviously he's travelled to another country to be involved in an LGBT rights event for something which isn't really focused on his country at all. And his speech was very good, very positive to hear. And then also both the speeches from the Labour MPs were both very positive. I heard what they were trying to do, and they did acknowledge that things weren't going the right way, and that there was a lot of work to do and things. And one of the first things, I guess, that made me realise in a positive way was it's very easy to think of these political parties as a single unit with the leader or the few leaders at the top, and then everyone else is just an organizational structure underneath them, a bit like a company, I guess. But it's not like that, and they all I guess, bicker between each other and all pull in slightly different directions and all do their own things. And I think there's this constant argument of like, should you be involved in a political party which is doing bad things, or should you resign and like not be associated with and not lend them your like credibility and stuff? And I think there's always a battle there, because obviously if you're not involved in something, then you're not involved in it, and the transphobes are going to be involved and we don't get a say. But then on the other side, you can be like, well, this whole thing's a setup and bullshit anyway, and us even being there is like legitimizing it. I think where we are with the current government is maybe the people at the top are pretty bad, but I don't think they have full like control over the whole machinery of the Labour Party. And certainly there are a bunch of politicians who are like not just standing at the back and doing nothing and saying a one-liner every now and then, not just writing like thoughts and prayers on Twitter, but they're like actively working and doing stuff. And I know that Nia Griffith here is working very hard still to get through this conversion therapy ban, and she's very keen for it to like include trans people and stuff. It basically, I'm not going to try and like launder the Labour Party, and I'm not going to tell you, oh, you guys should all have faith. I don't know how much faith I have in politics or the Labour Party or any individual MP, but it did give me some more faith, and it made me realise that it is worth engaging in some of this stuff. They both talked about how like a theme that's probably going to come up a lot this week is lots of MPs are hearing a lot about trans rights all of a sudden, and they are kind of shocked at how much pushback there is against what's going on. And that's a good thing. Like, it's really important that the decision makers have been like, whoa, okay, there is a lot of people talking about trans rights, like pushing a positive trans rights message. We should probably do something about this. So I do think that engaging was good. I think that going to this event for me was good on a personal level, because I got to experience what it was like and understand and stuff, and maybe I could go to things in the future. But also I think it's good that trans people were there. There was quite a few of us, which leads me on to the second section. So they did all the speeches, like all of the speakers were amazing. I should just show another angle. There was a speaker... Oh, he's just cut off the camera. There was another Turkish LGBT rights activist who was also a very good speaker. But then the next part was like questions. And the questions were kind of like split into... There was like either questions about LGBT rights in Turkey and like the asylum process in the UK. One person said that the UK had told them they can't get asylum in the UK because Turkey still has rights on paper for LGBT people, even though in practice it doesn't. And it's arresting people and banning pride and things. So, yeah, it was really good to hear from them. It was really good to hear their experiences, disappointing to hear from the government, and the answers were a little bit like... frustrating, I guess. But the other half of the questions were mainly from trans people in the UK asking about what's going on with the Labour Party at the moment. And one of the topics we'll do, and it's a separate video later on, separate segment, about Pride banning the Labour Party, which we got some frustrating answers to. But we also asked about, like, what the hell is going on with Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting and stuff. And, like, I think that it's difficult because I believe that these MPs who are in the Labour Party are genuinely, like, on our side. I think they're both, like, strong trans rights allies, but also they are both in the Labour Party, and this is like an official event, so they're kind of restricted on what they can say to a degree. But yeah, so we did get some positive answers. I did feel like they were frustrated with it and they were doing something about it, and they were working towards changing things and making real, like, actual progress. Like, particularly Nia Griffiths is very involved in, like, the conversion therapy ban, like, is actively pushing it forward. That seemed to be, like, one of her main focuses. So that's very good. There was one moment where the question was, like, about it was about Pride in Labour and Labour being banned from Pride, and all of the Labour politicians. There was another guy at the back somewhere who answered something over here, and they kind of gave this answer of, like, you should all stop making a fuss. We're trying to do something. Stop fussing. And man, it made me want to scream. It gave me, like, an adrenaline rush, because I was like, do I interrupt? I didn't know how rude to be. Like, I've just been invited to this thing and they don't know who I am, and it's, like, my first time there. And I kind of want to just speak my mind, but also I want to be invited back, or at least leave a good impression. Yeah, and I, like, looked over at the other two people who had introduced themselves as trans women, and they both, like, caught their eye, and we were all like, it was a little bit frustrating in places, but I never felt like it didn't feel like, oh, these people are transphobic, they're just fobbing us off. It didn't feel like, oh, they're lying to us. It didn't feel like they didn't care. It felt like they had a lot of faith in the Labour Party and we had less faith in politics in general. And that can be a little bit frustrating. There was also another moment where, I guess I won't call them out, one of the people in this room told a story about, one of the cis people in this room told a story about one of their trans friends, and just, like, totally fucked up on the, like, misgendered their friend the whole way through, told some awful story about them not being a virgin and then becoming a virgin. And oh man, it made me, like, cringe out of my body. I haven't heard something like that clumsy and terrible in ages. But yeah, the question time, like, finished, and it felt positive, but I felt very frustrated and very cringe and very, like, wound up, like, pent up energy. I did get to ask a question. So I said something along the lines of, I talk to, like, hundreds of trans people every week, like, all the time. I'm interacting with trans people through chat here, through my YouTube comments, through Blue Sky, in like WhatsApp direct messages, all kinds of things. I talk to a lot of trans people, and lots of them have, like, no faith in the system at all. I mean, I know it was a different government before, but we just had, like, a consultation for the GRA reform. All of the consultation basically come back saying positive, we should go ahead with it. Then they didn't. And then we had, like, this, like, thing with the CAS review where we've pushed back loads and they just completely ignored it. And we've been pushing for a conversion therapy ban for ages and they've just completely ignored it. And, like, the EHRC is, like, so corrupt, it's unreal, and just nothing is happening. And I was just like, my feeling of, obviously I don't talk to every single trans person in the country. If you're watching this and you disagree with this, please let me know, because I want to talk to all different kinds of people. I think my understanding of the feeling, like, on the street is that a lot of trans people feel that the entire system is rigged against us, and whether we do anything or not is a complete waste of time. And it's like this evil power structure which is created specifically to oppress us. And I think that these politicians don't feel that's the case. They feel that like, the Labour has only just got in power and it's complicated and they've got momentum to change and not everyone's on the same page yet, but they hope they will be, and etc., etc. So I said, like, how can first you convince me personally to participate in this stuff more, like, in politics more? And how could I possibly tell anyone else to do that? And I don't know if the answer directly convinced me. But I do feel like the entire event overall has left, and what I've learned more this week as well, has left me feeling that, yes, we should engage in the process, like in certain cases. And the thing that I was specifically asking about is we've got this EHRC consultation coming up, which we'll talk about more later, where they're going to listen to all the stakeholders about whether they should basically segregate us away from society. And that is so degrading and so extreme and terrifying and horrible that I think a lot of people are going to be like, fuck this, man. Like, absolutely fuck this. I don't want to participate in this, like, begging to have a future in this country. And I think that if you look at the Labour Party as transphobic Keir Starmer with his, like, Grimer worm tongue in his ear telling him to eradicate trans people, meeting up with J.K. Rowling and Mayor Forstater and stuff, and then they're like, oh yeah, we've got to do a consultation. They put it out, and then they'll just be like, who cares? We're just going to ban them all from society anyway. If you look at it like that, then sure, it feels like participating is just an insult, and it feels like it's pointless and a waste of energy and a waste of hope. But I got the feeling, and have got the feeling from both this event and through stuff I've learned from the week, that it isn't at all done and dusted, and it isn't hopeless. The thing that I've heard a lot from politics people recently is the government is kind of shocked at how much pushback it's getting on this, and how many letters they're getting from trans people and people who love them, how many like things are happening, and it has, like, the EHRC originally was like, here's our guidance, and then they had to take it down because it was like terrible, and then said, okay, we'll do a consultation for 2 weeks, and they've had to back off on that, which we'll cover later. And this is because of all this like stuff going on. So I think it really is worth participating, even if just to write a polite but angry letter, like every day, to someone, to Keir Starmer, to the government, the EHRC, to your employer, whatever. I think that at the moment we have a lot of momentum, and it is worth using it, and there is some room for it to make some real difference. Anyway, that was like the two official parts of the evening. There was also a third part of the evening, which was me and a few people got invited to the MPs bar afterwards, and someone bought me a drink, which was nice. So I had a rum and coke. It's quite a nice place. It's right by Big Ben and stuff, and it was on a balcony and overlooking some things, and it was a nice day. Nigel Farage was there. Richard Tice was there, his like number one minion, which was interesting to just be a couple of meters away from him. And I feel like the various MPs we interacted with weren't, because they weren't in an official capacity, were much more free to talk their minds. So yeah, I think I definitely think that some of the things, I shouldn't go into super loads of detail, but I do think that it gave me a positive view of what was going on through this third part. So if I like split the evening to 3 parts, it was like the speeches were amazing, the questions were very frustrating, the drinks afterwards was quite positive, and I was able to like directly, me one-on-one, talk with some of these MPs who are actually like doing stuff, and I was able to say, like, so neither Kate Osborne or Nia Griffith had heard that, for example, the pool organisation that's in charge of the sport pool with the snooker cues and whatever you had banned trans women, and they were both like, what the fuck, like that is insane. And to even like, I was there and able to say things that added information to their like repertoire of things. I was able to put, like, I made a comment about how it's all this bullshit about biological sex and gender, acquired gender being like two immutable fixed characteristics, like put that like argument out there. So I think that was very positive. And then the final part of the story is, of course, I went to the toilet when I was there, and of course I went to the ladies, like every other single trans woman who has ever been in that building. And of course there was no issue and no one died and nothing exploded or whatever. It was just went in, did a wee and washed my hands like I do every single day. And I had actually done in the coffee shop that I went to just nearby the House of Commons as well, and the train station, because I got the train there, and like I do at work every single day, and like I do at every single Pokemon cards event that I go to. I know that some of the other trans people who have been invited to the Houses of Parliament posted about going to the toilet there, and then the Daily Mail made it like the front page. And like, if they come after me, then like, fuck them. But I do think that when one person says, I went to the toilet here, and the media comes after you and tries to destroy you, if everyone else then goes quiet about it and ducks down, is like, oh, I don't want to stick my head up, then they kind of win in making it seem scandalous. But it's not. It's like literally what happens. Every single trans person who has ever been in that building has gone to the right toilets, like every single time. Me doing that isn't remarkable at all. And so I feel like I need to stand up and say I did this. Like, it's so it just feels insane to me that I have to go, oh, I went to the toilet. Like, what am I, 3? No. But the fact that there's some part of the media and stuff and some politicians, like Nigel Farage, who think that it's like new and crazy that someone like me might go to the toilet, like to the women's toilet, I just feel like I need to say something about it. So get fucked, Daily Mail. Like every other single person ever, I went to the toilet like a normal person, and it's not remarkable, it's totally normal, and I stand by every other trans person who's ever gone to the toilet in that building to go to the right toilets too. So fuck you. Anyway, I would be really interested to know what you like what you think about me going there, what you think about trans people engaging with this at all.